get a lot of inquiries that that come at you from different angles. Like, for instance, you could get an inquiry because someone's on your web page and sees a property and wants to go look at it. Someone may call you from your property, from your website, and just want some more information about a particular property. Someone might call you from a for sale sign. They might call you from an ad in a newspaper or magazine or some display that you have someplace. The follow-up is going to be about the same no matter where the inquiry comes from. And so we want to make sure that we're prepared for any type of inquiry that we get from buyers. And the same goes for sellers. So we want to have a system in place to be able to rapidly respond to them, deliver them, valuable information that they would deem, valuable. And being that said, what we're going to do is kind of talk about that. So there's some things that we want to have in place. So we want to make sure that our MLS homepage is in place, meaning with the banners, all our signature information, because if we put somebody in there and we send them properties in a search, we want to be branded properly in their mind. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And then, you also want to make sure that you have your MLS public link available. And when I say the public link, we've kind of went away with that, and I think there's just more of a portal type of link where they can come back in and customers can save searches and do different searches right in the MLS. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
And we also want to make sure that we're monitoring the usage on our website if we have a Boomtown system, because that also creates custom searches and save searches, and you can review the data. I have some language that you can use when rapidly responding to a buyer in an email before you actually speak with them. Now, Boomtown has its own system and its own dialogue and its own things, but I'm thinking outside the box. Let's say you don't have a Boomtown system. Let's say you don't have a follow-up series of email drip campaigns that you can put somewhere into. So if you don't have that, then you can always fall back to this and just have a simple email response that you're going to respond to them when you get an inquiry. And then you also want to have the attachments that I'm going to share with you available. You're going to need to know what's called the universal callback script. The universal callback script is a one-page script that can handle buyer inquiries and seller inquiries. It's one of the best scripts I've ever seen on the marketplace. It's simple, it's to the point, it's easy to understand, and it's compelling to get people to want to work with you. We also want to make sure that we have meeting places that if they're local buyers, we might want to meet with them. So like coffee shops that we may have in mind, title companies where we can use their conference room, different places, the office, things like that. So we want to make sure that we're conscious and we're prepared ahead of time of where we would take somebody to meet with them if we wanted to have a face-to-face. So step 2, call the lead as soon as it comes in. Use the follow-up callback script to call them. If you don't book an appointment, then you don't have a client. In the old days, if you weren't able to book an appointment to talk with the client face-to-face, then we considered that you didn't get the client. Today's market's more mobile. Customers aren't likely to always come in. So you're going to have some fallout when it comes to loyalty. And so you just want to keep that in mind. If you can still deepen that relationship and get it face-to-face, you have a much greater chance to work with them than if you do everything on the phone and never meet them face-to-face. So you just want to keep that in mind. If you have a top producer account, you want to put them in top producer. You want to send out the email response with the attachments with the link to the MLS, And then you also want to set up a search based on their request. And what I'm saying is if somebody emails you and they're looking for this type of home, I would like some information about homes like this in an area, then this would be the response that we would, jump on to respond to that quickly. And then again, number 5, it just says if you don't have a client till you book a face-to-face, reiterating the fact that you don't have loyalty from somebody until you can actually get them face-to-face. You can do the buyer presentation, and then you can ask them to sign the VIP buyer agreement. And then you always want to schedule a follow-up or disqualify the lead. All right, so if you're not able to book an appointment, then you want to be able to disqualify the lead by, following up until you can. And when I say disqualify them, it's because I always give everybody the benefit of the doubt. But if you become an expert at lead generation and you have lots of different leads coming at you from different directions, you're going to need to have a process in which you go through and qualify people so you know who to spend your time with. Because the last thing that you want to do is spend a lot of time with somebody and then they don't end up buying and neglect somebody else that really wanted a house and they go and buy. And they buy without you. Because that would be very upsetting. All right, so being that said, this is the rapid response to a buyer. So let's go to the universal callback script because that is the language that sometimes you use. And let's use a scenario today as if somebody called in on a piece of property from a real estate sign, and they called you directly on your cell phone, okay? And 9 times out of 10, that property is not really the one they want, but that's the one that they called in on, and so they're calling to try to delete or they're trying to get rid of that property. I mean, they're approaching it as if they like the property, but in most buyers' minds, they're calling to find out, is it too expensive? Is it too big? Is it in the wrong location? So that property is not on their radar. Okay? And if anything during the conversation comes up that it's not, then the customer wants to move on because they found that property is not a good fit for them and they want to move on. So when a consumer calls up, we need to have that right mindset that they're trying to, they're trying to eliminate this property by a series of questions. Now, of course, if all the things that they ask about the property meets their needs, the obvious thing is, well, would you like to book an appointment to go see that property? But that's only 1 in 10 chances that that's going to be the case. It's going to be 9 in 10 the other direction. So we want to be prepared for that. And so this universal callback script really helps us kind of do that. And we have to modify it a little bit to deal with somebody calling in about a property from a sign. And so they called in, they left your voicemail about that property on your voicemail, and you have a phone number to call them back. So the script would kind of go like this. Hi, I'm calling to talk with Mr. Smith. Is he there? And then they would answer, yes, my name's Kano, and the reason for my call is because I received your request for information about the property, and I wanted to let you know that I have it available to give you at this time. Now, I modified it because it's a phone call off a real estate sign. I'm not going to pop it in the mail to them. I don't have a mailing address. I'm not going to pop it in an email because I don't have an email address. So I'm just going to tell them that I have the information available in front of me and that I can answer the questions now. And so what I'm going to let them do is talk first. I'm going to let them talk about the property. And we call this straight lining. And what I mean by straight lining is they ask questions about the property, and then I answer those questions directly about that property, and then I ask, is that what they're looking for? All right? For instance, This isn't part of the script here because this is called straight lining. If they say, well, how much is the price? And I would say, well, the price of that property is $254,000. Is that about in the price range that you were looking for? And I wait for their answer. Oh, no, that's too expensive. Bingo, ting, ting, ting. The light's going off. This is that 9 and 10 that the property's not a good fit for. So now I'm ready to move into my capture mode. All right, because the idea is 90% of the people that call on property are going to want something different than what they call on. So I have to be able to change gears and qualify them and hook them. All right. So my answer to that might be, oh, okay. So what type of price range were you looking for? So I might, if they stumble, no, that's not what we're looking for. What kind of price range might you be looking for? So then I might just jump right in, and they would give me a price range, and then I would say, well, and now I'm going to come into my script, and now I'm going to start qualifying them. And so I'm going to use number one. Well, are you folks planning on making a move here in the next 3 to 6 months? And so now I'm taking control of the conversation. If I know that they're moving in the next 3 to 6 months, the properties that are on the market are relevant. If they're not moving for 6 months, then the properties on the market are not relevant because they can't buy one of those. So my approach is going to be different than if they're 3 to 6 months. If they're 3 to 6 months, they're now a buyer. I'm ready to work with them. So my next question is, great. Do you currently rent or do you own a home? And the reason I'm trying to identify if they're a renter or do they own their own home is this next question. If they own a home, would they prefer to list their home, or do you want to sell first? Would you prefer to buy before you list your home, or do you want to sell first? So by asking that question, I'm identifying as they're a homeowner. Do they need to sell that property? And do they need to sell that property before they can buy? If they do, then we need to have a different conversation. If they say, no, I don't need to sell that property before I can buy, then they're still in that 3 to 6 months. They're ready to buy. But if they say they need to sell the property, then I need to talk to them about selling that property so that we can free them up so that they can buy the next property. So now I need to talk to them about listing their property, or at least what are they going to get out of their property? Is it currently listed? What the effort is that they're going about trying to sell it. Because how serious of a buyer do I have if they need to sell another property and it's not even on the market? And if it's not on the market, that's great. I can help them with that. I can help them get their property on the market, and then once I sell that, I can help them buy another property. But I just need to know by asking the right question. So if they don't need to sell another property, my next question will be: are you planning on staying in the area, or this area that you're looking at, or are you looking? And I modify this a little bit because we have a lot of tourists. Or are you looking in other areas? Okay, because if I'm working with somebody here, I want to know if they're looking in Naples as well, or Fort Lauderdale, or is the area competing? And number 4 is a great question. If you were to move, when do you think that might be? Now, I've already asked them the question, are you thinking about buying something, and are you planning on making a move in the next 3 to 6 months? So I have a 3 to 6 month window. Now, I'm trying to find out what the prospect has in their own mind when it comes to wanting to sell, wanting to buy their property and be moved in. So if you were to move, when would that might be? So when would you like to be moved by, basically? And now my next question is, do you have a realtor to help you when the time is right? That's a polite way of saying, are you working with another agent? But if I say it, are you working with another agent, that might, they might think communication by email is working with another agent. They might thinking inquiring on another property is working with another agent. So I don't want to ask the question, are you working with another agent? No, I want to ask, do you have a realtor to help you when the time is right? I mean, do you have somebody on your side when you're ready to make the move? I know that you talked to a bunch of us, but have you selected somebody to represent you? It's a much stronger statement. All right, and if they say, yes, they have an agent, wonderful. Are you committed to that agent? And we're going to talk about a couple little objections that you can help with. All right, and remember, if somebody was out 3 to 6 months, you might offer them, hey, look, I'd like to follow up with you at a later time. When might that be? Enjoy the website, look at the property. I'll set you up on the automatic search. Just let me know if you have any questions about the properties that I'm going to send you. That's for longer-term clients because, again, what's on the market now isn't something that they can buy. All right, and then you pick a time to follow up with them, and you give them access and let them, enjoy looking at property until the time is right. And they say they're going to look in about 9 months, and they would like for you to follow up in 6 months. Then you're going to cut that time in half, and you're going to follow up in 3 months because people speed up the processes all the time, especially when it comes to real estate. All right, so now I have this potential customer on the phone. They called in about my property off the sign. I've identified that they don't have another property to sell. They're in the market in the next 3 to 6 months. They don't have an agent that they've selected, okay? I can be that agent. So now I'm ready to propose something to them. And that's going to be my home hunter service. And I may not quite call it home hunter, but I think the gist of what I want to say is in this paragraph. Would you like for me to email you daily homes that match your home buying criteria from all the real estate companies? And I'm going to pause. I mean, all the real estate companies. Our list is going to include some bank foreclosures, corporate-owned properties, and other distress sales that can be great buys. And it's a free service, of course, and you're never obligated to buy a home. Would that be of interest to you? Would that help you? Well, of course it would. Wonderful. Well, when do you think that you and I could spend 20 minutes together to kind of take down exactly what you're looking for? And this is where we've had to modify things. And instead of trying to go in for an appointment, we may be talking to somebody that's out of town. All right? So we might say, hey, when can we spend a few moments together so I can take down exactly what you're looking for? All right? And this is where we try to get to that face-to-face appointment. If the prospect tells you, well, I can give that to you over the phone, well, rather than emailing you hundreds of homes which may or may not match your criteria or risk missing out on the perfect one, if we could just get together for 20 minutes, I have a form I fill out, and I can take down exactly what you're looking for. All right, and again, we're trying to get that face-to-face. If they're local, this works. A lot of times, if they're out of town, then we're going to have this conversation over the phone. So why don't we do this? And this is how you can modify. Why don't I spend a few minutes with you now, if you have the time? I'll take down exactly what you're looking for. I'll program our systems to send you out some property, and then I'll just follow up with you in a few days just to make sure that we're on track with what you were looking for. How's that sound? Great. Now, when are you planning on being in town? Wonderful. All right, well, I'll touch base with you in a couple days just to see how the search is going. And if any of them pique your interest, feel free to email me back or pick up the phone and call me, and I'll get some more details about that property. All right, so that's the friendly approach that you want to take. And the other side of this equation, all right, is is for sellers, and we'll get to that. But this is one of the reasons why I like the universal callback script, is it works both for buyers and sellers, and it's just one page, and it's not very hard, but it bullet points the questions that you need to ask, and it gets to where you need to go. So that my next step is I need to now send out an email. So maybe I got their email, and I might modify this quite a bit to fit the situation, but the idea is I want to give them something of value. I talked with them today, and now I want to give them some value. Now, I may have an email inquiry, okay? And now I still want to give an email inquiry value when I get ready to email them back. For instance, the 10 mistakes home buyers make. Thank you for your inquiry. I'm really looking forward to speaking with you. Now, if you've already spoken with them, you got to modify this. And it was great talking with you today. In the meantime, I've attached a helpful resource called The 10 Deadly Mistakes Home Buyers Make. I hope this piece allows you to avoid some of the most common problems and ultimately get you into the house that you want. I'll be following up soon to see how I can help you find the right home. Thanks. Have a great day. So this is the rapid response email. So let's take a look at this flyer real quick. The 10 deadly mistakes. Number 1, choosing a real estate agent who is not committed to forming a strong business relationship with you. Now this is like a third-party person, referring them back to you, telling them, smacking them upside the head and saying, hey, you really need an agent that has your back and has a great relationship with you. Number 2, make an offer on a house without being pre-qualified. So if they're getting financing, pardon me, getting financing and they haven't been pre-qualified, we're saying, hey, look, you're wasting your time here. We need to get you pre-qualified first. And this is something that we would talk to them anyway about, but here's an example of that. Mistake number 3, not knowing the total cost involved. A lot of times buyers think that all they got to do is come up with their down payment. They don't have their closing costs calculated and all the costs that they're going to have associated with buying a property, a home inspection fee, an appraisal fee. All right, so we want to make sure, and so this kind of prepares them for that. Number 4, limiting your search to open houses ads in the internet. So what they're doing is saying, hey, if this is all you're doing is these kind of searches, you're missing the real properties. All right, so it's subconsciously telling them that. Oops. Number 5, thinking that there is only one perfect home, so they're not being flexible on the type of home they're looking for. Number 6, not considering long-term needs. I mean, maybe they have a handicapped child, maybe they're older, they're just not weighing everything out. Not following through on their due diligence. Number 7, meaning they didn't act during their home inspection period to take care of the proper things. Number 7, they didn't have a home. I'm sorry. Number 8, they didn't have a home inspection. Well, we know how important those are. Number 9, not examining insurance issues, not reviewing how much homeowners insurance is going to cost them, including flood and wind mitigate. And number 10, not purchasing a home protection program. So not buying a home warranty with the home that they're buying. A lot of times if they're a first-time home buyer, it takes all their money they have just to get into the property. So we want to make sure that we have a protection plan to be able to go beyond that. So this is a great flyer that brings value to the relationship, and so it's a wonderful compliment regarding that when you get ready to call them. So any questions so far, Kevin? Oh,
sorry, you were muted. I was muted. No, everything's good. I just got to get that flyer. I want to email that flyer out to a few people. I think it's attached on Top Producers, quite honestly. But I was just looking for it.
If you launch Rapid Response in your Top Producer,
Yeah.
it's already built right in. You just need to modify your email before you send it based on your situation.
Exactly.
Yeah, perfect. So let's go over some normal objections, and if you can master these objections, you can really handle them. All right. Number one, working with another agent. You're going to hear I'm working with another agent. I have an agent helping me, or a friend or relative. So a question would be, well, are you 100% committed to that agent? Or are you open to find out the differences between what an agent does for what they charge? Or maybe you might modify that a little bit. But you want to be able to challenge that relationship, because so many times I've been able to take a buyer away from another agent only because they weren't confident in working with that agent. I think you've already even done that yourself. You know? Yeah.
Jody has.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing illegal about it. If someone did not go and get a buyer-broker agreement, then buyers are allowed to switch agents all the way up until the time they write a contract. So we want to be able to, break that relationship down and create added value if we need to do that. Number two, find properties online myself. So a lot of people might say, hey, I got all my own properties that I'm looking up. And so they can go online and get the information on the homes for sale. Well, most online websites that provide information available on the market for several days and sometimes even weeks. What I'm proposing is, if I email you all the best properties as soon as they come on the market so that, the buyers get to the best listing as quickly as possible. So some of these websites are updated every 15 minutes to an hour. But we want to give the impression to the consumer that this information may not be as accurate as what we can provide to them. And because we want to, again, create value there. They may say, I have an agent sending me properties already. Well, I have an agent sending me properties. In addition to sending you our own listings and those from our company, I'm going to send you a daily email list that will include all the properties from all the real estate companies, any distressed sale, bank-owned property, corporate-owned properties, and it's absolutely free of charge. And will you reconsider, let me, set up and send you out some property. I can give you my criteria over the phone. And again, this has been one that's been very difficult to get away from, especially with a lot of people starting their search while they're up north. And then we want to talk with them about that, to get down. So whether you get together with them or not, you just need to remember, if you don't have a face-to-face, that the loyalty isn't as great as if you could have gotten face-to-face, all right? So I'm going to jump over number 4. We're going to come back down to number 5. I need to speak with my spouse or check my schedule. Wonderful. I need to speak with my wife or check my schedule. Well, why don't we do this? Why don't we go ahead and set up a tentative time that we can meet or talk about your needs. And if it doesn't fit with your spouse's schedule, then we can, we can change dates and times. Which would you prefer, evening or days? The old, I'll get back to you. Well, if you get the old, I'll get back to you. Why don't we do this? Why don't we set up a tentative time, and you can change it if it doesn't fit into your schedule? What would you prefer? Remember, when people take control, they'll get back to you. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but you lose control. As a salesperson, you lose control. This is a good one. I don't really know for sure what I'm looking for. Well, that's perfect. I don't really know for sure what I'm looking for yet. What we'll do, what we'll do when you get here is go over things that you may and may not feel is important in a home that you're looking for. And then we'll determine any areas or types of homes you might want to eliminate. You will likely find that there are things that you never considered before that may be important to you. And remember, it's absolutely free. There's never an obligation to buy. Would you prefer, evenings or daytime? I don't want to sign anything. All right, so people are afraid to sign it. Well, you don't have to sign. You don't have to sign anything. It's absolutely free. Don't even bring your checkbook. Would you prefer days or evenings? I already know the value of my home. A lot of people will say, I already know the value of my home. Well, all right, I already know the value of my home. In addition to accurately determining the value, it's important that you're aware of any inexpensive tips that would further increase the value of your home. I also can go over my net sheet so with you to determine exactly what you'll have left over in your pocket after all the closing costs are incurred. So we can kind of go over some of the closing costs. As you can see, this is our old company logo. This is an old piece of mine that I wanted to share with you because, again, these are some normal objections that you run across. And if you can make them your own, if you can make the objection handle part your own and incorporate it into your own words, then you're going to be a much stronger real estate agent, okay? Because the power of persuasion can increase your bottom line. So we'll make sure that we have those. And so real quick, let's go back and look at the seller side of things. All right, so when we jump over here on the seller side of things, we have an intro. Hey, I got your inquiry about your property. I'm calling you back. Hi, this is Kana with White Sands. The reason for my call is I received your request for information. Just wanted you to know that I was going to pop that in an email to you and send that out to you. Are you folks planning on making a move in the next 3 to 6 months? Again, determining their timing. And you'll notice, if you were to move, would you be staying in the area or moving out of the area? Well, they're selling their home, so now are they going to become a buyer in the same marketplace, or are they relocating? So I need to know that. And when do you think that might be? So now I'm trying to determine in their mind when they think they need to move. And again, do you have a realtor to help you when the time is right? So now I'm asking, do you already have someone in mind? Do you have someone you call your realtor? Would you prefer to buy before listing your home, or do you want to sell first? And again, similar question as before on the other side, but now I'm trying to, reverse because they're thinking about selling. So I want to see where they are financially, if they can afford to go ahead and buy a house, or are they going to need to sell first? And again, for longer-term prospects, we want to put them off to a further time, plan to follow up with them, cut that time in half, and then get back with them. So if they want to sell first, okay, and then buy, then I can offer them this. Well, why don't we do this? Would you like for me to do just a free market analysis, market evaluation to determine what your home would sell for? Also, I can give you some tips on what to do and what not to do to sell your home for the most amount of money. And we can kind of go over all the various closing costs that you'll incur, so you'll know exactly what you'll have left to put in your pocket after all the expense. And again, it's free of charge. There's no obligation to do anything. Does that sound like that would be helpful? And when would be a good time for us to get together, evenings or during the day? And then you can always refer to the Market Watch for those longer-term customers. All right, so now let's pull up, real quick. I'm going to go ahead and pull up an email that would go out to the seller. So we have a quick little email. It just says, hey, there's 5 things to do before you sell your home. All right. Hey, thank you. I've received your inquiry. I'm looking forward to speaking with you personally. Well, if you already spoke with them, you want to modify it. Hey, it was really nice talking with you today. Look forward to getting the information to you that we talked about. In the meantime, I've attached a helpful resource called 5 Things to Do Before You Sell Your Home. It details some steps that you can take to make the process faster, easier, and less stressful. All right, and then again, you follow up question there too. So what does that look like? So let's take a look at the little 5 mistakes that we're sending out. But remember, these are messages to the seller that you're not having to speak to them. They're reading it. It's a different way for their brain to formulate the information that you're trying to relay to them, and if they can read it, it may hit them in a certain way and compel them to want to talk to you. So here are the 5 things. Number 1, hire a real estate agent. How cool is that? Your flyer tells them to hire you. Okay, so I think that's really really neat and important. Number 2, get your home inspected. So what they're saying is get your home inspected ahead of time and fix everything on it so you don't have any pitfalls when the inspection comes around. Number 3, make all the repairs ahead of time. Well, now that's just following up with your inspection. Number 4, showcase your home. So curb appeal must be impressive. So this is a great way to get across that curb appeal is extremely important without saying it to the customer and having them, be confrontational about it. You can kind of give them this, talk to them, say, listen, you want to show your home? First, the curb appeal and impressions are the best. It even talks about, interior your home, clutter-free, maximizing your home livable space. So it says the things that we want to say all the time, except it does it in a really nice way. And number 5, price it right. So it just talks about how to get the price right, not to overprice. What would happen if you do? And really, focus on the price. And then on the back, it really gives us some suggestions. Clean, clean, clean. Clean up the yard. Let there be light. And add a little few touches. So again, these are some things that it recommends to help with their house. If they're thinking about selling, these are perfect. These are perfect to help them, get maximum dollar. Well, I hope this helps you respond to both buyers and sellers at a very rapid pace. And keep in mind, getting the dialogue and having the right objection handlers and having support material will help you go a long way in your success.